The 2019 Dallas Cowboys are without a doubt one of the more perplexing teams that I have seen in quite some time, especially when it comes to coaching. I think that their coaching has been very unusual to say the least, because while they've gotten a lot of heat this season, I don't actually know exactly how much blame I would put on them. And that's not to say I would put no blame on them. I definitely would put some blame on them. But what I find very interesting about their coaching staff is I actually feel like they do a pretty good job of calling games. Like, I feel like their actual play calls tend to be pretty good. I feel like they understand the talent they have on their roster, and for the most part do a pretty good job of putting their talented players in a position where they can succeed, with some notable exceptions. Like, on this play, for example, it's a great example. They're going to run play action to the top half of the screen, but then Ezekiel Elliott, after faking as though he takes the handoff, will then run a route to the top half of the screen to try and get open, and they're also going to have a receiver run that route right there, so typically the way it would work for Prescott is now he has two reads, but actually, they're going to go a little bit further than that, and they're going to have Jason Witten start off blocking that edge rusher, but then he will also go out and run a route. So for Dallas, there's going to be three routes on the top half of the screen, and for Prescott, he will run up to the top half of the screen and then try to see what is open and what could be open for him to make a play. So as you see, once the ball is snapped, Prescott can fake the handoff, run up to the top half of the screen, and at this point, he can just look around to try to see what's open. His first read on this play, Ezekiel Elliott, maybe Prescott could throw it in that direction, but it's kind of a tough throw. There are a couple of Bills in the area who pretty much have to make a perfectly accurate throw, so it's not something Prescott is going to try here. He also can't throw it deep because, again, a couple of Bills covering that receiver. However, if you look at Witten over there, Witten is wide open right now. Once he stops blocking, no Bill picks him up, and Jason Witten is wide open. Prescott's able to make a good throw on the run, and they're able to get the touchdown, and well, that's not easy to do. Prescott actually is pretty good at throwing on the run. He's one of the better athletes in the NFL, so I do think that that's a good example of putting your player in a position where they can do what they're good at. You're okay with rolling Prescott out to the top half of the screen, and because you're doing that, you don't have to have anybody extra blocking, so now you have three options where one of those options was able to get open, and that's kind of just a good call to result in a touchdown. That's really what happened there. I feel like after Thanksgiving, everyone was saying Sean McDermott totally outcoached Jason Garrett, but on that play, that didn't happen. The Dallas Cowboys offensive coaching staff outcoached the Buffalo Bills defensive coaching staff on that play, and they would do the same thing a few times throughout the game. Like on this one, another perfect example, where it's going to be a cover one hole, and that's going to be Amari Cooper's route, which is perfect against this type of coverage. Because it's a good route to beat man coverage, and also it'll cut well before the middle of the field, and so since Buffalo is taking away the middle of the field, this now means around the numbers could get open, and since that's where Cooper will be cutting, that's when he will get open. And as you see, once Amari Cooper cuts in, he's easily open, Prescott's easily able to hit him, and they easily pick up a first down. Again, yes, Cooper did a good job of running that route, yes, Prescott did a good job of hitting him, but that wasn't too high of a degree of difficulty type of play because the Dallas Cowboys dialed up a good play on that one. So, while yes, there are some problems, I do think we should at first bring up the fact that I feel like they call games pretty well. I feel like both on offense and defense, there have been a few exceptions. I specifically remember the game against Minnesota when they were all of a sudden trying to get the running game going late in that game when clearly the passing game was what was working. That was questionable. I'm not trying to say they've been perfect, but I do feel like comparatively to most NFL coaching staffs, they call some pretty good games in my opinion. So a lot of people might just sit here and say, well, if they call good games, then that's that. Then they're a good coaching staff and it's the players that aren't doing anything right. But I don't really feel that way either because there are several things that go into having a good coaching staff. There's obviously the most obvious, which is play calling. I mean, that's the one that we can as fans easily see, but there is more that goes into it, and one of it is just preparation and understanding your assignment. And I do feel like, while Dallas does do a pretty good job of calling plays, and they do have talented players, oftentimes their players don't understand their assignment, and it can have some huge negative impacts, and this play is what I mean by that. It's going to be a cover 3 zone that they're in, and for Buffalo, that's a good thing. They have a receiver running that route right there, which is a good route against this type of coverage, and so for Buffalo, this is a good situation. They can probably gain some yards here. And right after the ball is snapped, one thing you will notice is that Josh Allen is doing a pretty good job of running up in the pocket. And so now at this point, for that Dallas player right there, he's kind of in a bit of a pickle because if he just stays deep to take away the receiver who's running behind him, well then Allen can just run up and gain some yards. But of course, if he runs too far up, then Allen can easily throw it over him. So he is going to have to take a step or two up, but he also can't fully sell out. So This is now going to make the window a little bit bigger for Buffalo to hit that receiver right there who is running behind him. So all of this is pretty standard football. I mean, it happens play by play. Buffalo's doing a good job. Dallas isn't doing a bad job. It's just sometimes things work out for the offense. That's what's happening on this play. So I actually have no real problems with Dallas at this point, but there is one major problem, and that's going to be, look at what's going on with that Cowboy right there. Watch how he's running in. He sees that there is a window that's getting bigger, and he's going to try to take it away, but the problem is, he's way too far away to try to pull something like that off. So when he pinches in, he just takes a terrible angle, and it turns what would have just been a catch into a touchdown. I mean, you just can't let that happen if you're a safety. That's just an inexcusable mistake right there. And those are the kind of things that I have been seeing with Dallas. It's not necessarily the play calling. I mean, that was a fine play. Sure, Buffalo did a pretty good job of having a good play to run against it, but at the same time, I mean, that's very minor. That's a football thing. Buffalo was still going to have to pull off a good play to make that play work. Buffalo did do a good job of that, largely with Josh Allen moving around in the pocket to widen up that window. It was a good play by Buffalo. That happens. Sometimes you get beat on a good play. I'm not going to hold that against them. But at the end of the day, you have to know your assignment, especially if you're the one safety who's deep. You can't give up a touchdown there. And he did, and that's a problem for the Cowboys. And that kind of is their biggest problem, in my opinion. It's not play calling. It's guys not understanding their assignment. You could blame the players if you wanted to, and I will blame the players to a degree, and we'll see more of these examples, but you do have to put some blame on the coaching staff as well. You just do. Usually when players lack awareness, it's either because the player just isn't aware, or it's because the Cowboys coaching staff isn't doing a great job. It's hard to really know exactly what the problem is, but that clearly has been a problem for the Cowboys, and quite frankly, it's been a mess at times. Like this one, a perfect example of just an absolute mess. I'm sure you guys remember this play. What's going to happen is it's a screen pass, so it's actually going to be Tony Pollard who's going to run out right over there. Then what Dallas is going to do is let the defensive line get behind them. Their offensive lineman will move up to just lead block for Pollard, and that's the way this play is supposed to work. Nothing too fancy, really. It's something Dallas does a good amount, and for good reason, they are very effective at it. But Buffalo is actually kind of in a lottery situation right now. They're going to have those two Bills on the opposite side of the field be blitzing right here, it just works out perfectly for them. So, good situation because now they're going to have immediate pressure go to Prescott. However, it could also end up being a very bad situation if Dallas realizes what's going on. I mean, if Prescott looks up, sees it's going to be a blitz, or if Pollard looks up and sees it's going to be a blitz, Pollard can quickly get out to the top half of the screen, get out quicker, and then there'll be even less Buffalo Bills who could potentially make a play. And who knows, this could end up going for a touchdown. That's just something that could happen. But as you see, once the pressure arrives to Dak Prescott, if you look at Pollard, he's not even close to getting out right here. He's still well behind the offensive lineman, and he's still, at this point, trying to sell as though it might not be a screen pass, but if there was a blitz, you can't try that long to sell that it's going to be a screen pass. You have to just get out at that point. I realize that's not an ideal situation, but when there is a blitz, you kind of do have to go a little bit quicker. And then also Prescott does the worst thing you can do, which is makes a throw when there's nothing there. He ends up throwing an interception. Just a bad play all around. Really just a disastrous play by the Cowboys on that one. Neither Dak or Pollard looked over to the bottom half of the screen at all on that play, and if just one of them did, they would have realized what was going on, and it could have made that play go quicker and figured out a way to make it work, but because they just weren't aware, that's what resulted in a very bad interception. There was also this play where it's going to be a cover 2 zone, and they're going to have a receiver run that route right there. And this is the perfect situation. I mean, this is what you want against cover 2. A receiver running a route that'll cut before the safeties, but still get past everyone in the middle of the field. This is the route that absolutely can get open, and it's going to work out perfectly right when the ball is snapped. Well, yes, of course, there are still 3 Buffalo players in the area. There definitely is still a window where Prescott can try to make this throw, and he is going to try to make this throw, but what I really hate about this is look at what Gallup does here. He sits back and lets the ball come to him, which results in it getting tipped up and intercepted. If he just charged a couple of steps in, that's an easy catch and an easy first down. Instead, he waits too long, which allows the Buffalo defensive player to get back in, knock the ball up, and then, of course, there was a little bit of the fluky situation of it being an interception, but either way, that was an easy completion that got turned into an interception. I know that's kind of a small thing, but the fact that he didn't charge in quick enough really resulted in it going from a first down and Dallas having the ball at the 40-yard line or an interception. It's that big of a swing. Those small details turn into huge details over the course of a game. So personally, I'm a bit conflicted. I mean, I do think that the actual play calling has not been a bad thing for Dallas. I do think that the players have to be smarter, and I also kind of feel like the Dallas Cowboys roster has been overrated. I keep hearing this idea that the Cowboys are a Super Bowl contending roster that just is getting dragged down by poor coaching. I don't really see it that way. I think the roster is good, but I don't think the roster is like even close to the San Francisco 49ers roster, for example. I just don't even see them on the same level. They're kind of caught in that weird thing right now where they do a lot of things well, but they don't really do anything great. They're not really great at anything right now. They're good at pretty much everything, but they're not great at anything. And they're also, actually, I wouldn't say they're good at everything because their defense has not played well. So when you're not dominating on offense, well, their offense has been good. I still don't think there's anything I would say is unstoppable on their offense. And then their defense has been oftentimes subpar. It's a bad combination. So should they fire Jason Garrett? I mean, they could. I think that would make some sense. I do think you should look for an upgrade at every position available, including head coach. Ron Rivera is available. I feel like there's plenty of teams that should go after Ron Rivera, but at the same time, I do think that Cowboys fans should be a little bit worried about the fact that it's not all just coaching. I think sometimes when you're a fan of a team, you kind of have it in your mind that, oh, I know, it's once we fix this one thing, then we'll be good. I mean, you saw it with the Bears last season. They kept saying, once we got a new kicker, now we're going to be good, but it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you have multiple problems. Actually, more often than not, you have multiple problems. And if you turn one person into a scapegoat, it can actually be very disastrous. Of course, that's just my opinion, but I do think that if the Cowboys think that their only problem is Jason Garrett, they might be in for a rude awakening.